my name's Kari Lane with Diya TV, and today I'm talking to one of the stars from Never Have I Ever, which comes out on Monday, April 27th. Welcome, Richa Moorjani. Hi, thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So this new show on Netflix comes out Monday. How are you feeling about that?
I'm super excited. It's just finally happening.
How long have you been waiting for this show to come out?
We filmed this in from July through October of last year. So it was about 2.5 months of shooting. And we just found out that it would be releasing at this time, I think maybe 2 months ago.
Something that's really great about this show is it features an Indian American character as the protagonist and a family. And tell me about the character you are in the show.
So my character is the cousin of the main character, Devi, who was a first-generation Indian American girl. And my character, Kamala, she moves here from India to get her PhD. And the show takes place actually in Los Angeles, in Sherman Oaks. And so she moves in with Devi and her mother.
Did you call upon any real life experiences or people you've met, or was it mostly what came from the script?
Definitely. A lot of, the script, first of all, was great. A lot of it was just in the writing. But even though I grew up here, I've spent a lot of time in India and I'm super connected to my culture. And I also lived there for a little while, a few years ago by myself in Mumbai. So I do feel like I connect a lot to that culture and to the experience of moving across the world also, which Kamala does. So I did use a lot of those experiences as well.
That also made me wonder, based on the script, was there much room for improv, or was the script as is?
Mostly we stuck to the script, but it was a really great collaborative environment where they did allow us to play a little bit, which I loved. And so there are some scenes in the show that most of it is scripted, but there are a few lines here and there that happened kind of just spontaneously on the spot.
What is it like for you as an actor to see those moments make the final cut?
It's super exciting because sometimes when we're doing it, after we cut, we'll just laugh. Me and the actors will just laugh about it. And we're like, there's no way that's actually going to make it to the show. And then when we watch it, we're like, it's actually there. That's crazy. So, but it feels great because then, you really feel like you're a part of the collaboration.
So the show has a really fun kind of quirky comedy to it. Was it hard not to be laughing on set and keep, focused the whole time?
For the most part, I feel like, at least for me personally, I was able to not break too much. I know for some actors, maybe just because their lines were also really funny, it was hard not to laugh. And so we would have to cut and redo it. But there was one scene I remember in particular that I could not contain my laughter. And we had to redo my shot like 10 times.
So we don't want to spoil anything, but what episode should we be looking for that?
It's in the episode, how do I say this without spoiling anything?
Oh, do you know what number episode, or like maybe a quarter, halfway, 3/4 in?
I think it was episode 5, and it's a scene where I'm in the kitchen with the character of Ben. So
okay,
yeah,
cool. So be on the lookout for that one. Nice. Were there any particular scenes that really stuck with you afterwards when like it was all done?
Again, without spoiling anything, the finale episode. So this show's a comedy, but there's so much heart in this show. There's so much relatable emotion, and that's what makes this show so beautiful and interesting for anybody to watch. And in the finale episode in particular, the very end, there's a very emotional moment between the family. And so I don't want to say what happens, but it's something that I think everyone will get emotional when they watch. And even when we were shooting it, we were all emotional. So that stuck with me for a very long time afterwards.
You mentioned family. What was it like working with Poorna, who's, I guess, so she's your cousin then?
So my three is my cousin, and her mother, who is played by Poorna, is my aunt. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it was incredible working with her. We had never met before this show, but before working on this show, but we both lived in Mumbai together at the same time a few years ago. We didn't know each other, but she had produced and created a play that she was acting in. And I went to go see that play. and I didn't know who she was, but I just remember being so awestruck by her performance, and I never forgot her face or her performance. And also after that, she was in so many different TV shows. I mean, you'll see her now in like everything you watch. She's amazing. So I just remember when I booked the role and I found out that I would be working with her, I was so excited. And when I met her for the first time at the table read, I was such a fangirl, and I like spilled my heart out to her about how much I admire her work and how much I remembered her performance. And she was really, really happy.
Well, that's cool. I was actually just about to ask, did you tell her you saw the show? And
Yeah, yeah.
that's
I
a
definitely
nice,
told her
like,
that I was a stalker.
oh no, avid fan is a no, that's great of like these moments in time coming together and making a
Yeah,
different connection for sure.
totally.
Um, which in a way is a theme in the show as well. It starts off early, and it's pretty early on. The main character, her she has a family member not in her life, and it's, just that emotional journey and coming to terms with that, which is a really interesting topic as well, of also how do things come back into your life. What
Yeah.
did you think of that as a major theme in the show?
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the major themes is grief and how we deal with it, and how it's also affected and influenced by our culture. And everyone deals with grief in a different way, and cultures deal with grief in a different way. So it is interesting to see how the family deals with it. And, you see the main character, Devi, going to therapy. And even in one of the episodes, her mother goes to therapy. And she has a really funny line in the show where she says, therapy is for white people. And I think that's something really gonna, yeah, I think that's something that's really gonna resonate, because for so long the Indian community has unfortunately seen the topic of mental health and grief and all those things as a taboo thing, and even therapy. That being said, it doesn't mean that Indian people don't still go. My mom is actually a therapist, which is pretty amazing.
Oh,
But
cool.
but yeah, so I think it's something that'll be really it'll resonate and be really relatable for people. And so yeah, that's pretty much it.
How relatable were the moments in the show for you? Because, sometimes when a show focuses on a particular group, sometimes it could be almost more of a caricature, but the
Yeah.
show felt much more on a realistic, I mean, maybe moments you, well, you can tell me, like, when you watch it, did you feel like, yes, I absolutely have met those people, I know those moments, I've been to those events, or were there moments where you thought maybe it went too far or of that nature?
Yeah, no, I think that, like what you said, I mean, in the beginning, how you said that there's a lot of different diverse characters. It's not just Indian characters. I love the fact that, Davy's two best friends are also women of color, and that just
Hmm.
reflects real American high schools and what they look like. So yeah, and there were a lot of moments that I really related to. I related a lot to some things that Davy goes through in the show, like how she's balancing between being an Indian American and feeling connected to some parts of her culture, rejecting other parts of it, and just generally being confused sometimes between that and her Americanness. So obviously, as somebody who grew up over here from India, that relates to me. But I also relate a lot to Kamala in the sense that I'm also very connected to my culture, and I have moved across the world before by myself. And I do know what it feels like as a young South Asian woman to feel the pressures of society and family to get married and have kids by a certain time. And those are things that I think many people will relate to, South Asian or not, just being a woman. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I relate to and that I think will be relatable for many people as well.
And you touched upon exactly what I was going to ask next in terms of, absolutely, it's visual representation for a demographic that has not had many shows yet of like the Indian American community, but it's also relatable for anybody who's watching it. Just because it's someone who doesn't look like you doesn't mean you can't associate with the things they go through.
Yeah, and I
And
think
then maybe
that's
it
kind of what this show does a great job of showing, is that yes, she's in. I'm talking about the character Devi. Yes, she's Indian, but she's also
Mhm.
American. She's just a regular girl in high school who wants to be
Mhm.
cool, wants to be popular. She wants to say no to drugs. Like she's just going through the same things that anybody would go through. And I think that if there's anything I want people to see, is that the Indian American experience is essentially just an American experience.
It makes it very normal without pointing out that it's normal, which is nice because it's just regular life. there's a scene where Davy's going to go to a cultural event and she's at a coffee shop. And I was like, oh man, I can believe those are real encounters that someone like her could experience. And so it's nice that the show touches upon those moments, and then hopefully for people watching, they get maybe more awareness of like, ooh, maybe let's not ask those kind of questions, or or you can laugh at it because you realize the absurdity of it too.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you made a really good point there. And that reminds me, another thing I relate to, just being in that position. There's been so many times in my life where I was dressed like that and went to Denny's for breakfast or something with my family after a show or a performance, and just getting those kinds of questions. It can be funny, but it can also be extremely triggering.
Would there ever be right ways to approach the situation that happens in that, or is it one of those, it's so delicate and it have to be individual to each experience?
You mean in terms of somebody
Well, yeah, like you mentioned for yourself, like when you're out in your outfit, there are ways to compliment someone on an outfit like that without being weird or rude or
definitely.
worse.
I mean, I think it's all in the intentions. I mean, if somebody is saying, "Oh, you look like Princess Jasmine," but I know that they're genuinely trying to give me a compliment, like, yes, it's kind of annoying, but I'm not going to hate that person or condemn them or think they're a racist or something. You know, some people, they don't know what to say, and it's okay as long as I feel that the intentions are right.
And then kind of a fun random pivot, you were mentioning relatability. I was kind of curious for yourself, if your character has a fun TV show binge. Are there any other shows you're binging right now besides, people should be binging this show? Never have I ever. But for yourself, is there anything that you've recently been binging?
Yeah, I'm actually not really binging anything.
Okay, yeah, or that.
I kind of have this habit of starting shows and being like, oh my God, I can't wait to finish this. And then the next day I start another show, and then the next day I start so I just end up not finishing anything at all. But the one show I did finally finish was Little Fires Everywhere.
I hear a lot about that one. I haven't watched that one yet, though.
Another great show.
For this show, it's 10 episodes, and they're about 29, 30 minutes. It goes by very fast. I feel this is a very easy to binge kind of show.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like watching one long movie if you watch the whole thing straight through.
Yes, absolutely. Which is nice, because then it is that, like, you can have your moments and watch it and feel complete enough in the episode, but it's very easy to be like, yes, Netflix, I'm still watching.
Yeah, it's something that you can definitely, I hope people actually take their time with it just so they can enjoy it over a longer period of time, or just watch it all at once and then watch it all at once again.
Well, because it's nice for some of the arcs because you can watch, but depends on how much time you have on your hands. That too. Nice. When you were filming, were there any particular fun behind the scenes moments that you remember, or were there any pranks on set or anything like that?
We had a lot of pranks on set. Yeah, our crew, our whole entire crew, everyone behind the camera and the cast, like, we were all super close. Everyone got along so well. We were all friends, which is amazing. That doesn't always happen on set. And there is one particular, without giving it away once again, there's just to boil it all down, there's a character on the show who says to one of the main characters, "It's only weird if you make it weird," in this like awkward moment. Anyways, that one line, "It's only weird if you make it weird," became a running joke behind the scenes on our set, where we would do weird things to each other and say, "It's only weird if you make it weird." And there's one time that I was on set shooting with Maitri, who plays Devi, and we're in Kamala's bedroom shooting a scene between us two, and the camera's rolling and we're doing our scene, and all of a sudden, in the middle of us shooting, our director of photography walks in from Kamala's bathroom wearing nothing but a towel and goes, "It's only weird if you make it weird," and then coolly exits. And the camera's still and me and Maitri, I think it took me a good solid 2 minutes to even come back to reality and start shooting again.
That's a good prank. That's really funny.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll ever see that anywhere, but I know it was on camera, so I hope they put it on Instagram or something.
I mean, you've mentioned moments of holding your laughter, but were there any funny bloopers that stood out to you or anything?
That was one of them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, other ones were just us laughing and not being able to contain it. And
Mm-hmm.
if there was anything else. No, I mean, everyone it was never like somebody who didn't know their line. I feel like everyone pretty much was always prepared. It usually was just something really funny happened.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then
That happens
you
on comedy
oh
shows.
say it again.
Oh, I said that usually happens on comedy shows.
Very true. Yeah. And then you've posted some fun photos on your Instagram too, behind the scenes. If you want to mention any of those that stood out to you that you were like, I want to share this picture.
I actually have a lot of behind the scenes photos, which I'm going to start probably posting after the show comes out. I've posted a few, but I don't know if there's any stories behind those ones. But there's one particular. I don't know if I have any photos, but if I do, I will post it. There's a scene where the family is having dinner together, and we're having a traditional South Indian dish called dosa, which is one of my favorite dishes in real life. And me, Maitri, and Poorna were just so excited to be having dosas on an American television set that we just stuffed our faces like in the first shot and forgot that for continuity purposes, we would have to continue doing that for
Oh,
every camera setup. And so for like what felt like 2 days, but I think it was maybe 3 or 4 hours, we had to keep eating dosas. And since then, 6 months later, I have not had a single dosa.
it's that like, oh man, yeah, I've done that with a food thing once. Of you're just eating too much of it, and you're just like, okay, I don't I don't want any more.
It's ruined for me.
Oh, oh no. Well, hopefully you can eat them again sometime soon.
Sometime in the
Um,
future.
yeah. And then also, as an actor too, and then for this show, have you had it where you've taken a really cool photo and you're just waiting for the show to finally air that you can be like, oh, okay, now I can share this thing, or and then also just to talk about it in general. What are those moments like for you as an actor?
Definitely. I mean, like I said, I have so many behind the scenes pictures and it's been 6 months now. So I'm just like dying to post them. But I booked this role, I think it was in the end of May of last year. And we started shooting in the end of July. But my official announcement for booking the part didn't come out until I think around October. So I had to wait from May until October to even tell anybody that I booked this part. I mean, obviously I told my closest friends and family, but to be able to actually post about it and
Yeah.
talk about it publicly, I had to wait for 5 or 6 months, which was difficult,
Mm-hmm.
but really exciting when I finally got to share it.
One moment you shared that's on the trailer too is we're allowed to say dick now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is truly the first time they will ever hear me.
Were there any moments that you think that will surprise people or anything like that in the show? I mean, your character doesn't necessarily do anything too wild and crazy. I mean, there's fun moments like that with that kind of dialogue. But was there anything that you're just like, you're curious to see what people will think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much about this show that is completely unique and fresh and
Mm-hmm.
that no one has ever seen before. I mean, just the fact that it's a young Indian girl as the protagonist and she's someone who's foul-mouthed and talks about
Mm-hmm.
sex and is loud and obnoxious. I mean, she's just not the type of and that's real. I mean, there are people like that and it's been completely not represented in the past. So I think people will be excited, and I think it's just going to be really interesting to see people's reactions to see somebody like that who has never been portrayed on TV before, but who really exists in real life.
I mean, you've kind of expressed it, but how does it feel to be part of this show that feature Indian American girl as the main character and a family too, and the other characters of color? It's just, it's one of those, you don't see it that often, and it's really important how like visual representation comes across. And so now there's finally this show out now. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
shortly.
totally. I think that, I mean, from the very beginning, when I found out about the casting call, I was excited to see that there was a show with not just one, but three leading female Indian characters. And that's just something that you don't see often or ever. And the fact that there were three different types of characters, one who grew up here, one who's from India, and then her mom who's also from India but who's been living here for a long time. So you're seeing all these different lenses of the Indian American life. And yeah, even behind the camera, we had so many diverse, both women and men. We had a couple of Indian directors. So it's just, it feels amazing. And I'm super honored and feel privileged to be on a show like this. And it's always been a dream of mine as an actor, a South Asian actor, to be a part of projects that highlight the South Asian voice. So I'm very excited, and the responses that we've been getting even before the shows come out from the South Asian community and outside the community, just telling us how excited they are to see people who look like them on screen and that they actually feel represented. I'm really, really proud and really excited.
Everything you said, I love. I was like, yes. And I hope people feel that way as well when they're watching it. And on that note too, what you've kind of said it a little bit before, but what do you hope people take away from the show, the South Asian community and anybody else who's watching the show?
Well, for the South Asian community, I mean, I'm happy and excited for them to finally feel like they have a show that represents them. And obviously, we can't represent everyone within the South Asian community or outside. And, you know, there's so many different experiences, and everybody has a different way of growing up here. But I do hope it's cathartic for people. I spoke with my mom the other day, and she's one of the only people who I know who actually grew up here. Most people my age, their parents moved here pretty late in life. And I just asked her what it was like not having anyone Indian on TV when she was growing up here 40 years ago. And for her, it was like, it just didn't even enter her consciousness because it was so far from reality. And so even for someone her age, she is so excited for a show like this to see a young high school version of herself and to feel like there's someone finally telling her story. So I'm so happy for my mom and for other people who also feel that way, for myself too. And even if you're not South Asian, I mean, there's so many relatable themes on this show, everything from family dynamics and grief and mother and teenage daughter relationships, which anybody can relate to, and just wanting to live a normal, cool high school life. So I think that a lot of people will really relate.
And do you think this might be finally a trend? I mean, Netflix also had the To All the Boys I Loved Before, and now it has Never Have I Ever. Are we finally starting to see more diverse shows representing people that we haven't seen enough of on screen?
Yeah, and I think Netflix is doing a really great job with that, because I think that they have realized how much of a need and how much of an audience there is for these things. Because for so long, I think a lot of, you know, Hollywood studios and networks have thought that by having a diverse cast or lead, they're not going to bring in the audiences, and that's definitely being proven wrong now. So I'm excited to see how the industry changes forward.
Nice. And then is there anything else you would like to add for people about to be watching the show?
No, I mean, I'm just super excited for people to watch it, and we would love to hear from you and what you thought of the show. And yeah, thanks for watching this interview.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for talking with me. It was a pleasure talking about this show. It is a very sweet, very funny, and very relatable show. Of there is something for everybody. Check out Never Have I Ever. It comes out Monday, April 27th on Netflix, and you can watch the whole show in one sitting, or as you're saying, spread out the episodes so you get a little more time to take it all in. My name is Kari Lane for Diya TV. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next time.